Pop filter. Pop filter. Wring your fucking neck. Okay, here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Handsome German, the only show on the internet. And today I decided to do something a little different and predict to you with absolute certainty exactly which games are coming to Nintendo Switch Online Expansion Pack Nintendo 64. I could do the same thing with the Mega Drive at some point, but that's more complicated for a bunch of reasons. So let's focus on the N64 because I know that's like the big ticket item on all of this. So first of all, I want to thank MondoMega for their wonderful work data mining this list of games that are already on N64 expansion pack, whatever, on NSO. Let's just shorten it to that. And I know what you're saying is like, oh, great work, you data mine something that's already there, but everything else is blank. Well, that can tell us a surprising amount about what other games might be coming down the line, because they are actually in alphabetical order, which I know there's a couple of things that might be a little confusing there, but I'll explain. So, you see, the topmost of the games that have already been added is Dr. Mario 64. I know that Banjo-Kazooie has already been confirmed and is somewhere up there, but games that have been announced but not actually added yet don't appear on this list, which means that we know for sure that Majora's Mask is going to fall right here between Yoshi's Story and Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, because unless there's another Zelda game that comes first in the alphabet, but you know what I mean. Anyway, something else that some people were talking about is the confusion regarding what these games are sorted by, because Mega Drive games are actually sorted according to their Japanese titles. But there is plenty of evidence to suggest that N64 games are actually sorted according to their English titles, because otherwise we would have Mario Hakase, I believe, Mario followed by words starting with the letter H, Mario Hakase 64, which would mean that there would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games between Mario H and Mario K, which just isn't possible. There aren't enough of those. And it would also mean that there are only 6 games in total that alphabetically start with a letter that comes before M. And, you know, M is in the middle, which would cut the list of possible games down drastically, instantly. Now, the other thing is that Sin and Punishment alphabetically comes before StarFox, and I believe it is called Tsumitopatsu in Japanese, which would mean that it would alphabetically come after, you know, Super Mario, because it starts with a T. Now, that, again, another bit of proof. The only thing that's a little confusing, and there are 2 possible answers to that, is the fact that The Legend of Zelda is at the very bottom. Now, when I first looked at this list and I was like, oh yeah, it's definitely sorted by Japanese title probably, I'm not even going to think about it, my first instinct was to be like, well, Zelda no Densetsu, Toki no Ocarina, I believe? Yeah, that makes sense. It starts with a Z in the Japanese title, so it's at the very bottom. Now, that has the obvious downside that it doesn't line up with Sin and Punishment here. Dr. Mario, or Mario Hakase, could have been either, and we could have just gotten only 6 games from the first half of the alphabet, but as you can see with Sin and Punishment, it's extremely unlikely that this is sorted according to Japanese titles. Which leads me to the other option, which is that for some games, a shorthand was used to replace the title. So in this case, maybe The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time was too long for whatever system they were using, so they instead just filed it under Zelda Ocarina of Time, Zelda Majora's Mask. Or they just thought, like, you know, programmers take shortcuts all the time, and if they just type in, oh yeah, no, this is Zelda in the database, everybody's gonna know what that means, obviously. So, good to keep in mind that even though I'm fairly certain about a lot of the games I'm about to predict, there's always the possibility that, say, if I were to, you know, go, oh, you know, there just isn't any space for GoldenEye here, who knows, maybe they just listed it as 007. That is a possibility. So just keep that in mind. And also, of course, keep in mind that I don't have any insider information beyond this data mine provided by MondoMega. And this is, you know, just very much for entertainment purposes. As soon as the next update lands and more games like Paper Mario, Banjo-Kazooie are added, then we're going to be able to make far more accurate predictions as to what kinds of games we can expect on the service going forward. Now, let's get into the list of my predictions. We have we have 6 open spots between the start of the list and Dr. Mario, which means, you know, 6 games have to go there. Now, we've already been told about Banjo-Kazooie, Custom Robo, and Custom Robo V2, with the Custom Robo games maybe being Japan exclusive. Who knows? But that also means that there are only 3 games that we can fill in still between the beginning of the alphabet and Dr. Mario. So, I think a fairly safe bet is to go with Nintendo-owned and published games and IPs first, because those are going to be the cheapest for them to put on the platform. That is then followed by games from publishers that Nintendo have worked with in the past, especially on the Classics system, Classics apps on Switch, and then you just put whatever is popular or seems so obscure that, who knows, maybe they'll go for it. So my first prediction is 1080 Snowboarding, which is a game I've never played, but I know it's considered a classic by a lot of people. Then next we obviously have Banjo-Kazooie, which already been confirmed. Banjo-Tooie, because I think it makes sense to put both of them on there, considering that Nintendo has a history of putting all of the Mario games, all of the Donkey Kongs. I think it makes sense to put Banjo-Tooie in there too. Then we have Custom Robo and Custom Robo V2, and Donkey Kong 64, which, again, it's kind of a no-brainer, although I wouldn't be surprised if they went with something else instead of Donkey Kong 64, just because of that legendary bug that they could never fix at Rare. But I'm not entirely sure what they would put there instead. Like, there's a surprisingly small selection of games that would make sense here. Like, you could fill out a possible gap with Clay Fighter, or, I don't know, Chameleon Twist. I have no idea. But those are my predictions for this. This is one of the segments that I'm fairly sure of, just because there aren't a lot of viable options in terms of who owns the license and how expensive is it going to be for Nintendo to get it. Then, at number 7, we obviously have Dr. Mario. Now there's 5 spots between Dr. Mario and Mario Kart. We already have F-Zero X, Kirby 64, and Mario Golf confirmed, which only leaves us with 2 possible openings. And looking through the list of games that I can barely see because Leon is just walking past the television again very slowly, which is very uncharacteristic for him, which just leaves us with 2 things to fill out. And that's kind of a bummer already, because I think it's fairly safe to say that Excitebike is going to be in there. From what I can see, it's definitely one of the most popular Nintendo 64 games that was actually, published and owned by Nintendo. And then we have a complete wild card there. So after Excitebike 64, we have F-Zero X, and then there's a blank that I don't know how to fill yet, followed by Kirby 64 and Mario Golf, which leaves us with just that one spot. And that means that there's a number of possible games that could go in here, realistically. Gauntlet, Gex, Glover, Goemon, GoldenEye, Harvest Moon, Jet Force Gemini, Killer Instinct. It could be any of these games, theoretically, but what's important to keep in mind is that if Excitebike gets confirmed, then it can only be one of those games that I just listed. So if you're one of those people who like Jet Force Gemini, which I hear is a great game, again, haven't played it, then, yeah, better cross your fingers that GoldenEye or Killer Instinct don't get announced, because that would remove Jet Force Gemini from the equation entirely. So that's kind of interesting to think about. As soon as we know, for example, where F-Zero X or Kirby 64 fall in the alphabetical chart, we're going to be able to pin down much better if any of these games, beginning with G or K, are going to be the ones that will fill these spots. So yeah, we have Kirby 64 at 11, Mario Golf at 12, Mario Kart 64 at 13, and here's something that's potentially exciting and potentially a little frustrating for those of you who shelled out for Mario Party Superstars. There are 3 spots between Mario Kart and Mario Tennis, which means there are 3 games beginning with the word Mario and alphabetically between K and T, and the only games that fit in here are Mario no Fotopi, Mario Party 1, Mario Party 2, and Mario Party 3, and I would be very surprised if Nintendo added Mario no Fotopi. So that would mean that at some point we might get all 3 Mario Parties, and there are literally no other games but the 4 that I just told you that fit in here. So I hope you're looking forward to that, because, hey, Mario Party, classic Mario Party, good stuff, going to be completely unplayable with a Joy-Con. It's going to be great, it's going to be awesome, wonderful. Then at 17, we have Mario Tennis. At 18, I put Mischief Makers, just because it's a game that Nintendo co-published, and I have to say, this part is extremely speculative, because, as you can see here, from 18 to 28, we don't know what games we're gonna get in that frame. So we know we're gonna get Paper Mario, Pokémon Snap, and that surprisingly is already it for confirmed games in that segment. Now, obviously there's a bunch of Pokemon games. I've already disqualified Pokemon Stadium, because what's the point if you can't transfer your own Pokemon in? I've disqualified... what else have I disqualified? Oh, obviously Hey You Pikachu, but it doesn't actually begin with the word Pokemon. So I don't think it's going to be the Pokemon Stadiums. I don't think it's going to be Perfect Dark, just because Microsoft has their own Perfect Dark remake coming out soon. I don't think it's going to be Pachinko 365 Nietzsche. I really... Whoa, for a second there I thought that game was called Nintendo Orsler 64 Game Gallery. That's not what that game is called. Oh. But yeah, there's a bunch of games that could theoretically fit in here. A lot of them complete garbage, from what I know, like Paperboy 64. I don't think it's going to be something like Quake, because that's something that Microsoft /id/ whoever owns it right now really likes to sell separately. So yeah, this is very much speculative, and I can't really say much about them beyond who published them, and maybe a tiny bit of bias here as to what games I would actually like to see. So we have Mischief Makers on Spot 18, which was co-published by Nintendo. Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber, which is a great title, which was co-published by Nintendo and Atlas, with, obviously Nintendo, but also Atlas, who have several games on the Nintendo Switch Online service. They have the original Shin Megami Tensei games, and a couple of others that I just don't have in front of me right now. There's Paper Mario, which has already been confirmed at Spot 20. 21, Pilotwings 64. Nintendo loves Pilotwings, even though I don't think anybody else cares about it. What are you gonna do? Pokemon Puzzle League at 22. There already is Punneled Upon on Super Nintendo Entertainment System, so that might seem a little random, but do keep in mind that there's 3 or 4 separate Puyo games across different systems there's 10 ways to play Puyo Puyo on the Switch, so it wouldn't surprise me if there was another way to play Punneled Upon Pokemon Puzzle League 22. Pokemon Snap at 23 has already been confirmed. Quest 64, which I know is a deeply flawed game that, some people have fond memories of, including myself. I just thought the system of being able to walk around and dodge attacks manually was really cool. But, it's a very easily breakable game where your RPG mechanics come down to learning water magic and I think earth magic or whatever makes you immune to attacks. But it is published by Konami. It is a game that's fondly remembered by a lot of people, and it does kind of suck, which are all 3 important factors that Nintendo takes into consideration when choosing games for their service. On 25, I put Rakugakids, which is a really quirky little fighting game on N64 that I played for a day one time because my uncle used to collect weird video games. I thought it was really cute. I wouldn't mind playing it some more sometime. And yeah, it's a Konami game, so yeah, I can definitely see that happening. Rampage World Tour, complete Hail Mary, I don't fucking know. I have no idea if that is even remotely in the cards at all. But hey, maybe? I don't know. Rampage is a game that is beloved by a lot of people who were around back then. So why not? Rampage World Tour gets a solid 4 out of 10 certainty scale rating. Ridge Racer 64 is published by Nintendo, and Robot Ponkotsu 64 Nanatsu no Umi no Caramel. I'm just gonna butcher it completely. I have never heard of this game, but it is so weirdly specific and probably beloved by a bunch of 35-year-old Japanese people that, who knows, maybe it's in. Maybe it's in. Who knows? I don't know. I was honestly already running out of no-brainer shoo-ins for that section of the list. So, Robot Ponkotsu. Next up, 29 confirmed, Sin and Punishment. And 30, we have StarFox 64. Now, that is, all fine, I guess. Unfortunately, that means that since there's no space between 29 and 30, unless, they invent some new numbers, or they start using the decimal point very liberally, that means Snowboardkids is deconfirmed, which hurts so much. Snowboardkids, for those of you who are familiar, is basically a crossover between snowboarding and kart racing. It's hilarious. You shoot yourself with, not yourself, each other, with little snowmen to turn each other into snowmen and just watch them shoot off the edge because they lose control. It's a hilarious game. It's a really strong game, childhood favorite, and published by Atlas. So it's kind of a surprise that it's not here, but it's actually deconfirmed. So no Snowboard Kids for us. On 31, we have Super Mario 64, obviously. And then we have 2 spaces between Mario 64 and Winback. And going through the list of possible games that could fit here is, it's quick work. It could be a Super Robot Wars, but I doubt that. But if you just go by Nintendo published games, it's most likely to be Super Smash Brothers and I mean, Tony Hawk fits in there, but I sincerely doubt it. I also doubt that it's going to be any Ubisoft games. Turok kind of fits in here, which, yeah, that would be cool for some people, but it's already being sold on the Switch separately. So ultimately it just comes down to Super Smash Bros. And Wave Race 64. Which, I know a lot of people are very fond of Wave Race 64, so Wave Race 64. So hey, good for them. Good for you. Good for you if you're looking forward to Wave Race 64. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Super Smash Bros. At 32. At 33, it's going to be Wave Race 64. 34 is already confirmed as Winback. And there's 1 spot left between Winback and Yoshi's Story. Now if we scroll around the list, Winback, there's Wipeout, there's Wonder Project, which was published by Enix, so that's possible theoretically. World Driver Championship, I guess. Worms Armageddon, and that's it. So there's Wipeout, Wonder Project, and Worms Armageddon as the 3 realistically possible choices for what to add here, because I doubt it's going to be Xena Warrior Princess. I just think realistically it's going to be Wipeout or Worms Armageddon. I'm going to go with Wipeout 64. Then 36, we have Yoshi's Story confirmed. 37, Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. I don't think anything else could possibly fit here, especially considering that Majora's Mask has already been confirmed. And 38, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. And that's the whole damn list. I am fairly certain about a lot of these picks, and I think a lot of them are kind of no-brainers, but maybe you just wanted to listen to someone confirm your suspicions. If MondoMega, I don't know why I pronounce it wrong every time. If MondoMega Jigglypuff decides to do another data mine and share it with us when the next update is out, I'm definitely going to go back in and amend my list to make it better reflect the possibilities before us. As always, this has just been speculation based on the bit of evidence that we do have. And yeah, I'm going to go back in, make amends to the list. And do keep in mind that the possibility that some games might be listed under their Japanese names or under their shorthand names is always there. We don't know if Zelda was listed according to its Japanese title or according to just the shorthand Zelda instead of Legend of Zelda. So do keep that in mind. Anything is theoretically possible considering that the developers might have just added something under a code word to keep it hidden, to throw people off track. I'm sure they knew people would data mine it. So, hey, thank you very much for watching. If you thought this was at all informative, entertaining, or good to fall asleep to, make sure you like and subscribe for more videos about whatever the fuck I can think of. And I love you very much, and go to bed now, I guess. Good night.